Welcome back to Automation Airwaves. I'm your host, Scott Teeple, and we're in episode 4 where we're talking about intelligent automation and the integrated terms. And in this episode, we're going to discuss the digital worker and the physical worker and how we really merge that in a connected automation environment. If you've missed it, the first episode we defined it, the second episode we talked more about the technology, and the third we discussed a use case and how we've actually solved it in the marketplace.
One of the elements of intelligent automation that is near and dear to my heart is around this human and digital workforce merging, right? Ken, I know that you're awfully passionate about this, as we're really looking at, for our customers, this transition of taking the bot out of the human, I guess, if you will, or taking the mundane out. And as a supervisor, it's really awesome that now I don't have to have the human element to do some of these data processing things, but it really is starting to create a scenario where I now used to be able to manage just a person to do the work, but now I've got this separation. Now I have this digital worker that's kind of doing this. Within an intelligent automation space, we start having the abilities to collect data in a whole new way, to start harnessing the power of that data piece. Is there any thing that you can share within how the digital worker and the human worker and the supervisor really continues to work in this space?
It's interesting you bring it up from a supervisor and a manager standpoint, but really the focus needs to go down to the associate that did the process previously. The full adoption has to happen at that level, and then it trickles back up. Oftentimes, we'll have conversations around, they feel like it's a solution that they put in place and it kind of just goes away. And now IT's managing it for them, and they don't have to worry about it except for the outcome, except when it doesn't work, just like an associate not coming to work. What do we do? Oftentimes there's additional strain on your automation program. There's additional strain with the relationship with your IT component. And where we're forgetting that those are actually associates, digital associates that are working for that same supervisor in the same capacity, providing the same functionality in that process that was defined within the business. So we want to make sure that we still focus on that layer, and that starts with that adoption early with the folks that are actually involved in creating the process. But then we also want to take it one level further, and that is once we make that initial step, who are we including? Are we including the right people? Have we made an effort to include those supervisors in the solutioning? Have we provided the training required around the delivery to be successful? A lot of times, we buy these technologies off the shelf, or like it'll fix this problem, sweet, everybody goes for it. IT puts it in, there's a select few that know how it works. The problem is that when things go wrong, and they will, how do we recover from them? How do we make sure that there are, BCP, there's continuity plans in place for the organization to continue to function, because it's not their core business. Automation is not their core business. It's what they do. So we want to make sure that we're including that in our approach. And once we talk about integrated automation again, it's a big component. We're always focusing on the solutioning, and that's why I love hanging out with Peter, because it's just wonderful. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, the what ifs, the back end pieces. How do we keep it going? We've put the solution in, we've gone after the RP and RDA solutions. Now we're looking at a much bigger program decision. Have we brought everybody along with us for that journey? Do we have to retool or re-engage with them and teach them how to think as we take it into a bigger, as we increase the spectrum of what it's going to actually solve? And so, there's a people component of that I focus on. I think it's why we see our customers return time and time again, is because they realize that they get to this little point in their journey, and they get stuck, and they're like, hey, what do we do? I'm like, well, that's we need to get past this level. You're ready for the next step, but are your associates, are your people component of your organization ready?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and this is probably the subject of your channel that you're getting ready to launch, right? Is organizational change management. How are you going to handle that now that you've got it in place? So stay tuned for that channel. That was a great promo for yourself. I think it's perfect.
Too subtle, was it?
Yeah, no, it's perfect, because I think it drives a lot of conversation that is critical to the success of the overall program. And maybe we've said it maybe too much, but maybe we're going to continue to say it, that the human is so important If we're not really addressing and taking care of our employees and how, not only in the change, but how we're going to enhance, how do we make that transition from task-based automation into roles-based automation? We'll likely get into a whole series around that. When you really start breaking down the core pieces of an intelligent automation program or an integrated automation, we're looking at, again, the AI piece, the narrow AI or the brainstem, if you will. We're looking at the orchestration, how we're bringing that together, whether that's workflow management, tool suites, or some kind of BPM. As we really start getting into the hands and how the execution is working, the RPA space, but then into the visualization and how not only is the user interacting with that, but also and how are we taking some of the advancements in cognitive and image recognition and to really start enhancing how all of that kind of works. So a lot more channels actually coming, or at least episodes coming out of that to really drive more great conversations. So the Redilo fixed asset case study is out there for download. Should be a link at the bottom. We also have a new white paper coming out specifically on this topic that will help hopefully drive some more conversations. And if there's any comments or any feedback, please don't hesitate to put them into whatever the media is at the bottom, whether it's LinkedIn or on our website. But thanks for coming in, guys. I really appreciate the dialogue and looking forward to the next several sessions as we dive in deeper into the topic. Thank you.